Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Being with Bella podcast. My name is Isabella. I am the host of this podcast. So, today I wanted to chat a bit about perfectionism in decision making and how we can kind of learn to reduce that and just gain more trust in ourselves when we are making decisions. I will preface by saying I am by no means a licensed professional. I am simply a girl who likes to put her thoughts into words because I have a lot of thoughts. So, I currently have a concussion, and every time I have a concussion, because I've had multiple, unfortunately, at first it very much stresses me out because I hate having to put my life on pause. I just can't stick to my normal routine, obviously, because it's important to rest and move your body and not look at screens when you're concussed. So, I wouldn't say I have like a spiritual awakening because I feel like that's kind of an extreme term. I always take it as an opportunity to have a growth moment because it gives me so much time to think and reflect and journal and listen to podcasts and read and just sitting with your feelings and thoughts. And it can be unsettling, but at the same time, it's a good challenge to learn how to manage your thoughts and take control over your thoughts and realize that you have the power to choose the way you think about things and you have the power to reframe any negative situation into a positive situation. And today, what I wanted to talk about is perfectionism when it comes to decision making. I think that if you are an overthinker like me, if you're a very deep thinker like me, if you are very perfectionist and struggle with futuristic and existential anxiety, it can be very difficult to have that trust in yourself when you're making certain decisions about what is actually the right choice for you. And a lot of times, what we hear is the right decision will always bring you peace. You'll always just know what the right decision is and you'll never be second guessing it. And while I think it's important to be confident in your decisions, and I think that's true very much of the time, I have the capability of thinking myself into any problem and out of any problem. And so I can think myself into basically any decision. It's very easy for me to second guess if that was the quote unquote right choice. When you live with a perfectionist mindset and you live with this idea that there's a specific order that your life has to go in, there's a specific way that things have to play out, and you have to follow that specific path and the specific order of your life events playing out a certain way. I think when we live with that mindset, it can be so easy to be perfectionist about every little decision we make regarding our future, regarding our relationships, regarding our career, regarding aspects of our life that are important to us that are future related. And so I think it's so important to become aware of this. If you are a person who tends to be perfectionist about your decision making, become aware of this and really take a moment to reflect on what is this stemming from? Like, why am I being so perfectionist about this choice? What is this stemming from? A fear? Is this stemming because this aspect of my life is important to me? Etc., etc. It doesn't bring you more clarity to overthink and put pressure on yourself to make the perfect decision. That only brings you more confusion, in my opinion, and from my experience. It's more important that you learn to make decisions that align with your values and your needs. And sometimes you won't know right away if that decision is the right decision for you or not. Sometimes it's going to bring anxiety regardless of which direction you go because it's moving into a new phase of your life, it's moving into the unknown, it's pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. So I think it's important to acknowledge that you're not always going to know right away if it's the right decision, and it sometimes takes patience and just giving it time, which I know is so, so hard to do as someone who struggles with the unknown and tolerating the unknown and tolerating uncertainty. It is difficult to give things time and just see how life plays out. It's a difficult thing to do, but I think it's important to do to gain clarity on your decisions out of the respect for yourself and gaining trust in yourself, and also out of the respect for others who may be impacted by your decisions. And so, yeah, I think the huge thing that I wanted to touch on today is just being patient, being intentional with your decision making, but also being patient with the outcome, because you're not always going to know what the immediate outcome of that decision is. And sometimes that is scary, and sometimes that is frustrating because you want to know how that aspect of your life is going to play out. You don't like to sit in the uncertainty or the unknown. But I think it's important to sometimes do that, because that way you will learn what is truly important to you and what you truly value and what you truly want with clarity. A lot of our overthinking stems from a lack of self-trust. As we think about all the possible outcomes and all the different angles that we can look at the decision from, because we don't trust ourselves to make the decision that is best for us. So this can also involve going to other people for reassurance and going to other people for their opinions when it comes to making certain decisions. And I think it's important to, at times, get the opinions of friends and family, because they can sometimes notice things about situations that we can't. Obviously, value the opinions of the people you love and care about, but at the same time, no one knows you and your life and your desires and your path better than you. You are the one living and experiencing your life. You are the only one who can truly know what is best for you and what you want, and be confident in that. And it's your job to learn to be confident in that. It's your job to cultivate that trust with yourself. It's no one else's job to validate your decisions for you. It is your job to do the inner work, to become confident enough in yourself to make decisions that are aligned with what you truly want and what is truly best for you. My voice is very scratchy today. I sound like a toad. I don't know. I don't love it. I don't love what I sound like today. Take note of the importance of cultivating self-trust and not putting the pressure or the weight of your decisions onto other people, because it is not, at the end of the day, it is not their responsibility to validate that decision for you, especially if they don't see things from your perspective and they aren't in the situation. They might have a different opinion on the situation than you do. So at the end of the day, going to other people for opinions, valuing their opinions, but then if you don't feel like it's something that resonates with you or something that you want to take into account with your decision making, then that is up to you. But you cannot expect other people to validate your decisions and always agree with you. It is your job to have that self-trust. So something that's helped me a lot is I go to my friends a lot, maybe too much, for reassurance and for, just their opinions on big life decisions that I make. And something that I realize when I go to other people for advice is that I already deep down know what I want to hear and know what I want them to say. And then if they don't give me that answer, then I get frustrated and I spiral and I become more confused and more indecisive as a result. But something that's so important to take into account is what are you hoping to hear when you go to other people for advice? Because ultimately, with the exception of like being in an unhealthy relationship or an unhealthy situation, what are you hoping to hear? Because usually you know deep down what decision you want to make. You just are looking for someone on the external to validate that for you, because you do not have that confidence and that trust in yourself to make that decision without external approval. That can be such a draining way to live. Let me tell you. For the majority of my life, I've lived that way. And it still ultimately has led me to making decisions that are right for me, but it's delayed those decisions, and it's caused me a lot of distress, because obviously everyone's going to have their own opinions on what you should do and how you should live your life, and they're only going to be telling you what they think is most valuable for you to hear. They're not going to be telling you, oh yeah, do what you want. Like, if you want people to tell you to do what you want, then just do what you want. It's an exhausting way to live, to constantly rely on external validation and approval of every decision you make, every life decision you make. You have to, at the end of the day, know what is best for you, trust that you know what is best for you. Also trust that no decision is permanent. Obviously, to some extent, there's things that we can't undo once we decide them, but no decision that we make is completely set in stone. Like, there's always the opportunity to start over or to try a new path or to change your path. It doesn't matter how old or how young you are. And I think that the perfectionism comes in with these decisions, because we don't give ourselves that grace of it's okay to make the wrong decision. We don't have that compassion, that grace with ourselves, that it's okay to do that sometimes. And I think that's so important to cultivate that, because it'll bring you so much more peace and so much more confidence in your decision making. That's the main thing I wanted to touch on today. Decision paralysis can be quite torturing, and so it's so important to take some of the pressure off yourself to make that quote unquote perfect decision and allow yourself to experiment with life a little bit and learn from the decisions that don't go the way you expect or the way you hope for them to go. Things are not always going to go the way you want them to go in life. And I think making decisions out of fear is one of the worst things you can do for yourself. That hinders growth, that leaves little room for expansion because you are making the safer and more comfortable choice. And I think it's so important to push ourselves out of our comfort zone. Also, at the same time, fears can come with either end of the decision, just in a different way. So it's important to think about, okay, well, which fears, like take out your journal and like write this out so you can like see it visually, and write out your feared outcomes and think about, okay, well, which fear is more aligned with my values. For example, like if your feared outcome is having a terrible job or like not enjoying your career path, then obviously that means that your job and your career path is very important to you, and it's important to you that you are passionate about what you do. And so if that is your feared outcome, this is your subconscious notifying you that your job and your career path is very important to you. And so it's okay to explore careers that align with your values, and it's okay to be picky about it and be intentional about it. So making like that excuse me, so scratchy today. So making that like safer choice of maybe staying in a job that isn't something you're passionate about would be the decision that's more based off fear, and then taking the risk to partake in a job that is more aligned with your passions, or taking the risk to maybe pursue a career path that's less traditional, can be the more out of your comfort zone decision that could lead you to a more aligned life at the end of the day. And obviously, be practical, be logical, be responsible, but just something to think about for sure is which decision is weighing more from fear and which decision is weighing more from what I truly want and desire. And sometimes that's really hard to distinguish. I have a very hard time distinguishing that myself, and so sometimes it just takes, instead of sitting in the decision paralysis and the indecisiveness, it just takes making a decision and sitting with it for a while and knowing that you can always make a change to your life. If you don't like what the current circumstances are, it's knowing that you can always make a change, but you're never going to know what circumstances are truly aligned with you and right for you if you don't experiment a little bit and actually make decisions. That's how you cultivate that self-trust, is by making decisions and seeing what the outcome is, sitting with it, reflecting on it, and thinking, okay, well, this is what I got out of this decision. Was this an aligned decision for me or not? And then as time goes on, you learn what decisions are most aligned with you and what decisions aren't. It takes actually taking action and making those decisions before you can truly know and have that trust in yourself about what is right for you and what you want. So yeah, I think ultimately what matters most when it comes to big life decisions is how you adapt and respond to the outcome of that decision, because that is the only thing you have true control over. Once you make a decision, the decision's made. Once you make a decision, it's made, it's there, and all you can do now is move forward and decide how you're going to adapt and decide how you're going to keep moving through your life and move forward. So that's either adapting to the decision or making a change if the decision is not giving you the outcome you desire. There's lots of different ways you can go, but the most important thing is that you are learning from your decisions, experimenting with life, and adapting to the changes, which can be scary because I know change is a scary thing and change is a very constant thing in our lives, especially when we're in our early 20s, young adulthood. But it's so important to just think about, come back to your values, come back to what's important to you, and make those decisions that align with your values, make those decisions that come from a place of self-trust, not from a place of fear, and trust that you can adapt to life changes and you can handle whatever changes come your way. So yeah, I think that's all I wanted to yap about today. Apologies that my voice was kind of scratchy. I haven't drank much water today. I appreciate you so much for listening as always. I hope you take some time to trust yourself today. Make a decision, no matter how small, whether it's picking a snack at the grocery store. I want you to challenge yourself to not second guess yourself when making decisions today. Just make the decision and move on. I used to be indecisive about even like the smallest things, like what flavor ice cream to get and things like that. So starting small and being more decisive about those smaller everyday choices and realizing that it's not that deep, like whether you choose peanut butter crackers or cheese crackers, it's not that deep. Either way, you'll get a yummy snack. I think the pressure again comes in when you're like, what's the right choice? Like, what's the right choice? And you can adapt. You can adapt. You can always go back and get cheese crackers if you get peanut butter crackers and regret it. You can always adapt. So, yeah, my challenge to you is to pick the cracker flavor without hesitation today. Cheese or peanut butter, just pick. And have a great rest of your day, slash afternoon, slash evening, slash dusk, slash dawn. And I love you so, so, so much. If you enjoy the content that I share and what I yap about, I also have an Instagram and a TikTok where I share similar content, good vibes. So if that interests you at all, those are linked in the description. Thank you so much and have a great rest of your day. I love you. Mwah.